Welcome to episode 13 of the IT Provider Network. And today's show, we're going to talk about what gets measured, what gets improved, some ways you can improve your help desk, and specifically how you can hold your team accountable with some good metrics.
Welcome to the IT Provider Network. Are you a managed service entrepreneur wanting to take your business to the next level? Do you excel in IT but feel your business management could be better? Join Terry Rossi, where every episode he shares the skills, tips, and tricks that helped him to build a successful worldwide business.
So today I want to talk about 4 categories of metrics that you can use to measure your help desk and the service level they provide to your clients. The first one is volume. How many tickets are you generating on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? The second one is response time. How fast are you responding to and solving your customers' problems? The third one is noise. What are your ticket types and who are your noisy customers? And the fourth one is production. Who on your team is getting it done and who's playing with their cell phone? So let's talk about volume. How many customers, endpoints, reactive and proactive tickets are you servicing? The first thing is number of customers. This is important because if you have a lot of smaller customers, it's much harder to service them than having fewer larger customers. You'll find as you grow your business, you'll need to weed out some of those older, smaller ones because they abuse you. They really do. And we'll talk about this in the noise section, but smaller customers oftentimes take up as much or more resources than larger customers. So in general, we want to strive for customers with 20 or more users. I actually like to see 30 or more users. This is a much nicer size for us. Our average size is 35 users, and that's a sweet spot for the MSP industry as a whole. The second thing you want to look at is the number of locations. The same rules apply here as far as number of customers as they do to number of locations. More locations means more places you need to roll trucks to, more internet connections that can go down and up, more network devices you need to support. If you're supporting many multi-location customers, make sure that you include a built-in adder in your pricing so that you can compensate for these extra costs. The next thing we want to talk about as far as volume is the number of endpoints. This might be your number one determination in your monthly billing. Many MSPs bill their clients by having their RMM tools report the number of agents installed in the field, which then drives quantity accounts to your agreements, which then you can use to bill your clients. We use ConnectWise Automate. This is formerly the LabTech product. And with Automate, we have the ability to count and report through the plugin to ConnectWise Manage the number of servers, the number of workstations, the number of printers, the number of routers, and really any other device counts that we need for billing. We have a mix of clients. With our older ones, we billed by the agent, the number of agents we had installed in the field. But all of our new clients are user-based, so we're billing them by the number of users that they actually employ or have at their location. What this does is alleviate any fear the client might have over extra laptops, tablets, mobile phones. We'll talk about pricing in an upcoming episode of the IT Provider Network, but we've moved to user-based pricing because it seems to align better with what our clients want to measure. That's typically headcount, number of employees. The next thing we want to talk about in volume is the number of reactive and proactive tickets that you're servicing. These counts are really important and they help you build and scale your service delivery team. Knowing and monitoring your ticket counts is key to correct staffing and making sure you're getting what you need out of your service department. At our company, we track everything in real time with dashboards and our dispatch portal, but we report in our daily huddles on yesterday's metrics. We use a combination of ConnectWise's report writer along with a great third-party tool called BrightGauge. BrightGauge integrates with many tools, including ConnectWise, QuickBooks, IT Glue, Kaseya, Datto, Continuum, Autotask, and many others. BrightGauge allows you to securely input your data into their portal, organize it, analyze it, and then create some really outstanding dashboards, scoreboards, and reports. Pricing for BrightGauge starts at $229 a month, and it goes up to over $1,000 a month. So it's not inexpensive, but it's well worth the price. You can find out a lot more information about BrightGauge as well as a podcast at www.brightgauge.com. And I'll put a link to that in the show notes. Getting back to ticket counts, we report the number of tickets open, the number of tickets closed, as well as the total number of tickets open on our service board. This gives us 2 data points to make sure we're keeping up with the volume. Are we closing more tickets than we open on any given day? And is the total number of tickets moving down? The second thing I want to talk about is response time. So how fast are you able to respond and resolve to your customers' issues? At the end of the day, there's only 2 things your clients really care about. How fast can you solve my problem, and how much does your service cost? If you do a good job at the first one, they care much less about the second one. But know this, if you don't service them well, they're definitely going to bitch about your bill. So when we look at response time, we look at 2 metrics. The first is the average time to respond. This is the time it takes a support person to actually start working on a ticket. It's not the time it takes for your system to respond back with an automated response that the ticket was received. That's cheating. It's the actual time that it takes for your engineer to start working it. You need to strike a balance between response time and the cost of labor, but generally you want this to be a low number. In our operation, we strive for less than 10 minutes, and that's usually acceptable for most clients. The second metric we track as far as response time is the average time to resolve. And this one's a little harder to manage, and it really depends on how you set up your help desk and your service boards. If you have all of your proactive and reactive tickets living in one service board, then it's really hard to get any kind of meaningful number out of this metric. So, for example, if you have an Outlook problem on the same board as a server project, one should be resolved in about 20 minutes. The other may take 20 days. When we first implemented our PSA ConnectWise, we had 3 service boards, and we worked this way for a long time until we started to really try to measure and improve our service delivery. We started out with a help desk board. This is where any customer-generated service issue got logged. It didn't matter if the ticket was originated from an email, a phone call, our taskbar icon, whatever. If the customer originated it, it started here. The second board we had was our knock board. The second board we created was our knock board. And this is where all of our software-generated tickets landed. This included all the tickets from RMM tools. We originally started with Zenith going back 100 years ago. They were our knock, and they produced a ton of tickets. They produced tickets for printers. They produced all kinds of crazy tickets. We finally ended up getting rid of them because we grew and because the noise level was so bad. But we still get a lot of automated tickets that we don't necessarily deal with. And if I'm being honest, I go in there sometimes and I just wipe them out. We should do a better job of cleaning up the problem at the source by cleaning up our monitors and alerts and lab tech, but frankly, we don't always do it. I keep wanting to call it lab tech. It's now ConnectWise Automate. Sometimes it's hard to do that, though. Sometimes it's hard to get in there and fix that. To try to fix things like a disk full alert is a problem if you have an older customer base. You may have an older customer that has a system volume that's 85% full on, let's say, a Windows 2003 server. That's never going to change until they upgrade or replace the hardware. So you either have to have a bunch of one-off monitors for those clients, or you just end up ignoring the alerts. I don't recommend you do the latter. So in this case, do as I say, but not as I do. The third original board we had was our project board. This is where we had any time and material projects that we've quoted outside of our normal managed service agreements. In our company, we determine a project to be a job that's anything over 8 hours and involves more than one person. So that would end up on the project board. Fast forward to the current day, we've added 3 additional boards, and this is based on the experiences we've had over the years. The first one we added was a backup issue board. We wanted to break these backup issues out from our knock issues so we could use our overnight techs to work them, but still have full visibility into backup problems. We've been in business for over 21 years, and we've had 2 situations where we've ended up in real trouble with clients. Both of them were 100% our fault, and both of them were caused by us not fixing a backup problem in a timely manner. Right now, if you ignore a backup problem in our company, we call this a CLM, Career Limiting Move. I suggest you take backup issues very seriously with your customers. They're the one thing that can put them and you out of business. The second thing we added was a VCIO board. VCIO issues sometimes don't have a quick resolution, or they can stay open for quite a long time. The second thing we added was a VCIO board. VCIO type issues sometimes don't have a quick resolution and tend to stay open for a long time. For example, a customer might want you to look into something based on a quarterly business report, but they never end up moving forward with it. Or you may show the customer that they need a new server, but that spawns into a bigger conversation about virtualization and maybe additional quotes. By adding a VCIO board, we separate these types of consultative issues from true task-based service issues, and therefore we can get much better metrics when we're looking at times to respond and resolution times. The third new board we added was a sales board. We have a couple special statuses that we use within a service ticket to move issues back and forth from sales to service. So this often happens when a tech uncovers a need for hardware, for example. He assigns it to sales. Sales works with the client to discover the true need, which may be different from what the tech uncovered. And then perhaps he might pass it back to the tech again for additional scoping and help. The tech is usually thinking tactically, and hopefully your VCIO or salesperson is being much more strategic. By sending the ticket between the two boards, you can do a much better job of managing your client's SLAs, and once again, your metrics won't be skewed. So that's response. The third thing I want to talk about is noise. Noise is the number of tickets you get from any client, user, device, or application that frankly is screwing with your profit. You need to be on the lookout for trends that are above the normal noise level and try to silence them. As part of our noise tracking, we track the top 5 noisiest clients for the week. We do this by tracking total tickets per customer. This can help you find customers that really aren't profitable and they're eating up all the time on your help desk. But it's important to remember that sometimes a customer gets noisy for a specific reason, and some of them that come to mind are like a line of business upgrade. While this shouldn't create noise, it often does, and sometimes it's because we're not doing our job. If we've screwed the pooch on an upgrade, or if the client wasn't trained on the new version, and if we allowed that to be okay, we're going to suffer the consequences on the help desk. So make sure you do a good job of scoping upgrades, planning for line of business upgrades, or else you're going to wreak havoc on the back end. The second thing that causes a noisy client from time to time are acts of God. You know, a good storm, lightning, flood, something like that can really cause a customer to get noisy for a period of time. There's not a whole lot you can do about that. Just work to resolve their issues quickly and get them whole as soon as possible. The third thing we've run into sometimes is new management. Sometimes a new manager comes on board, and usually you see what I call pigeon management. They swoop in, they shit all over everything, and then they fly away, either fired or moving on to another position. Sometimes when they shit on everything, this includes you too. Make sure you properly onboard new employees at your customers so they understand the rules of engagement with your MSP and they don't wreak havoc on your company. If you allow them to walk all over you, then shame on you. You're going to suffer the consequences on the back end. There are many other reasons a customer can get noisy, but the point here is that you want to make sure you're monitoring all the sources of noise and that you're controlling the ones you can. If after doing that you find a customer still too noisy and generating too many tickets, then perhaps you should suggest they find another MSP where they can be more successful. Don't let their problems become your problems. You're in business to make money. To do that, you need to be productive. You need to have a business that scales, and you need to really shed customers that are standing in the way of you doing that. Of course, you want to do everything you can to make them successful, but there's sometimes you just can't win. The last group of metrics I want to talk about is production. This set of metrics, like all those that have come before it, are a little tricky. Each tech's not going to produce the same amount of work, but there are reasonable expectations you can expect to get from them. For us, for our team members, it's 7 to 10 tickets closed per day, and this is per day per man. Plus, we expect the following. We expect them to be on time and ready for work. We expect a completed timesheet every day before the huddle the next morning. This is 9:10 in the morning. This includes truing up their timesheet. We make every tech account for 8 hours of their time. They can put in their internal work or training or their lunch hour, but they need to account for the entire 8-hour day. We also expect fully documented tickets. So not only do you need to close a certain amount of tickets, but you also need to complete them with proper documentation. This includes the problem description, the resolution, and all the communications with the customer. The idea should be that anyone else can pick up that ticket and fully understand what went on. We also expect contributions to our knowledge base. We use IT Glue. It's an outstanding document management system for IT providers, and we expect updates into IT Glue every day. We also expect full documents. These are standard operating procedures or K-base entries that are fully fleshed out documents we can send to customers. So we measure that. We measure who contributes and who doesn't. We also expect employees to work on their employee strategic plan. This usually includes one internal lunch and learn session for the other staff members and one process improvement suggestion per quarter. We talked about ESPs in episode 9 of the IT Provider Network on hiring, process, and tools to find great talent. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. And you can find them at the itprovidernetwork.com/13. The last thing we expect from our techs is a 95% satisfaction rate on individual customer satisfaction scores. After every closed service ticket, we send out a survey. It's a simple survey. We use a tool called SmileBack to send the customer an email where they can select either a green, yellow, or red smiley face to indicate their satisfaction with the ticket. We expect all techs to have a satisfaction rating of 95% or greater. The department is rated on this as well. As part of their quarterly bonus, we look at the overall customer satisfaction for the department. If it's under a certain percentage, then they get no bonus for that particular section of their success sharing program. So that's about it today for this episode of the IT Provider Network. I wanted to talk to you about 4 different ways you can measure your help desk, looking at volume, response time, noise, and productivity. I hope you found these metrics useful and you can use them in your own business. As always, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to the show. I welcome your feedback. I've been getting a lot of it lately, and it really helps set the stage for upcoming episodes. If you like the show and you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, please head over to the show notes at the itprovidernetwork.com/13 and follow the instructions to rate and review the podcast. I would be very grateful for your time and effort and your rating. I also encourage you to join our mailing list at the itprovidernetwork.com. I hope to finish this week a couple of documents that I promised the mailing list subscribers. The first is a complete hiring guide for MSPs, and this is almost done. It's almost a 50-page document. And the second one is my webinar planning spreadsheet that I've been using for quite a long time. This will help you produce a really well-done webinar. So all you need to do is sign up for the mailing list at the itprovidernetwork.com, and I'll send you an email with a link to a special web page that you can use to access these documents and other subscriber-only tools in the future. So thanks again for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. And remember, we are IT, so get it done.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope you've been inspired. Check us out on social media via @ITProviderNet and visit us at www.itprovidernetwork.com for past episodes, show notes, videos, and more. And we hope you'll join Terry next time on the IT Provider Network.